Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Just like you all to welcome to our Lens Lounge discussion. And this evening we've got somebody from a little bit further away. Somebody that I know through the School of Photography. So we'll just bring in Bryan. Got Bryan coming into the scene from New Zealand.
Hey, how you going?
Bryan. Hi there. How you doing?
Good, good.
Yeah. Well, as a just little introduction, Bryan and I know each other from the School of Photography, who we had Mark Newton on a month or two back, and for me, this is the first time that I've actually seen Bryan on the screen. But I'll be going out to New Zealand later on this year, so I'll be meeting him face to face. So this is good. So thanks for coming on the Lens Lounge to discuss your photography. So we'll just let Jan, you're going to ask the first question. So you want to just start off the first question, and we'll take it away from there.
Yes, yeah, Bryan, it's good to meet you and welcome to the chat tonight. So I'm curious because of course you know the other Bryan in School of Photography. So I'm just curious about I've seen the photos that you take are actually on landscape and seascape, and so if you wouldn't mind telling us actually how did you get into photography? When did you decide to take photos, and if you could talk us through it?
Yeah, so as long as I can remember, like I remember having film cameras back in the day, and obviously a lot younger then, and I'll enjoy taking photos. I was never very good, but my digital journey really started around 2005, and I bought my first DSLR, and I decided then that if I'm going to spend this kind of money on a camera, I need to learn how to use it in manual. And so I did a day course with a friend who is a professional photographer, and we learned all about aperture and ISO and shutter speed, and that really set me up. It really set me up back then. I kind of drifted off a little bit because I had that camera for a long time, and we're talking an 8-megapixel camera with a screen that was hard to see, and it was extremely frustrating. And I think it was around 2015, 16, I bought a secondhand camera off a good friend of mine who's an amazing photographer, and it was at that point there, getting out with him and learning how to use it more, that it kind of really took off. Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, Bryan.
Yeah, Gladys, you want to ask the next question to
Bryan? What I want to ask you is, what's your favorite type of photography? Your favorite genre?
Yeah, I saw this question. I thought it's really difficult. Predominantly, I do landscape, but I actually really enjoy shooting most genres. I've got a real passion for World War II history, so I love to shoot air shows. We've got a local air show that happens twice a year, and I'm always out there with the camera shooting photos. I even got to sit in the back of a Harvard, and it was in a formation of 6 Harvards for the Battle of Britain Memorial flight. And so I was shooting photos from the back of the Harvard, that was an incredible experience. I love astrophotography. As soon as you start getting to that, it sucks you in. It sucks you in hard, that one. I love shooting the Milky Way, especially moon shots. Got some really cool shots of the super moon in New Zealand last year. Another one which I never thought I'd get into, but was shooting my daughter's dance school shows. I never thought I'd be a dance dad, but I am. And it's a lot of fun, actually. Take a lot of photos, and you're running around a lot, but yeah, I really enjoyed shooting the dancers. So I still haven't really locked down where I want to be. I do love landscape. I love getting out in nature. But yeah, really behind the camera, I just enjoy being behind the camera wherever it is.
I have to say, I looked at your astro photo, the one that you've given us. I thought it was beautiful, actually.
Yeah, we'll be discussing the photos in a minute. So, well, basically, Bryan, as we both know, we're both members of the School of Photography, and I think it's good that you've come on, because following on from Mark, who we all love and know, so it'd be interesting for me to understand what do you take away the benefits from the School of Photography? Just maybe pick 2 or 3 things that you think's really benefited you in your photography.
Yeah, so I'm starting my 3rd year as a School of Photography member. I remember seeing Mark probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I didn't have the money at the time to join up then, but I do remember I just clicked with his presentation. He's an amazing communicator, and he's got a really personable way of communicating. To be honest, I haven't done too many of the courses. It's with time with young kids and full-time job and studying part-time. I haven't done as many as I should. But what I really appreciate from the School of Photography is the monthly challenges. Mark pushes us out of our normal comfort zones.
Yeah.
This month one is space, and it's talking about the space within a shot, not necessarily the stars, but not filling the frame with too much clutter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing I think is the community, though. Whenever I talk to anyone about the School of Photography, and I've shared it as far as I can, it's just such an amazing community to be part of. It doesn't matter whether you're just starting out or whether you're at your level, Brian, where you've gone full-time, professional photography. You can post anything, and you're not going to get looked down on. You're not going to get made fun of. You're just going to get encouraged.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, meeting amazing people throughout the world, just making these connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, the School of Photography really is that community.
Yeah, I would echo that. That's the one thing. It's good, and it's just a wonderful community, isn't it? And it's like you say, it's the challenges that it sets us at. And I think that's helped me develop, with some of the things, because it's just like learning, isn't it? That's sitting in the back of here somewhere, and one day you'll think, because I did it the other day, I was out and I wanted to photograph silver birch trees, and I just remembered one of the assignments was, getting down low and looking up, and I combined the next minute I created this image, and I know it's all because of what's been stored in my brain somewhere that maybe I don't know where it is, but it's all part of the learning game, isn't it? That's what helps with assignments, I feel. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, well, obviously the next thing that I think's, I'm really encouraged as well. It's really good to see, but I know that you've embarked on a 52-week project. You've called it Epic Beach Project, sorry. And but just a bit more about it. What inspired you to think to do something so challenging? I would say 52 weeks.
Yeah, well, I mean, the inspiration's simple, and that's Nigel Danson. So Nigel's an amazing landscape photographer based in the UK. Mm-hmm. I've followed his YouTube channel for years, and last year he did 30 days at Luscantire Sands, which is a beach in the Isle of Harris, just off Scotland. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason for him doing that was to push himself beyond the obvious. And that's kind of, I was really, really enthused by watching that. I'd love to be able to do that here, but full-time job, kids, money, it's just not feasible to go to a beach for 30 days. My local beach is 10 minutes away from me. I live on the west coast of Auckland, and it's a very rugged west coast beach. And I thought, well, let's just do something there. I can go every week and get photos there. And it is, I can walk out to Bethells Beach and I can get 8 to 10 money shots without even thinking about it. But they're easy for a reason. And I want to push myself to look beyond the obvious shots, to look deeper, and to find stuff that I normally wouldn't look for. And what I'm hoping is this will push me when I go to a location around New Zealand, rather than just looking for the obvious shots, I'll be looking for something deeper, a different composition, different perspective. So yeah, 52 weeks at this end of the project is scary. I keep going out every week going, oh my goodness, what have I done? But I'm looking forward to seeing where and how my photography grows out of this. Okay,
that's interesting. No, that's very good. Yeah. And it is, I suppose the more you go to somewhere and even just sit down for even an hour, and you might just see a pebble that you wouldn't see if you weren't there, or bits and pieces, or a pattern in the sand, for example, But I'm looking forward to actually visiting this beach myself as well.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's easy to go to a location and go out there and go, oh yeah, sweet, I've got my shot, and move on to the next one. And yeah, we can be, we can often get ourselves stuck in that and actually not just sitting and enjoying the location where we're at and taking the time to look at it more in depth rather than just going, oh yeah, I've got my amazing shot, time to move on.
Yeah, it's more about slowing down, but not physically, but slowing down in your inner self to just slow down and appreciate things, and because that's what I do a lot now that I can, it's amazing what it opens your eyes to, but yeah, okay, that's very interesting. And you've got I'm right in saying you've got a YouTube channel now, haven't you, where you're documenting some of this.
Yeah, so I've done one video on that, and I've just bought an Action 4, DJI Action 4 camera, so I'm going to try and do some more vlogging with that.
Okay.
That's a whole nother learning experience, and talking to yourself as you walk down a beach, and then editing videos as well. So
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay. Who wants to ask the next question?
Shall I ask the next question then, Jan? What and who's your been influencers?
I think the biggest influence is actually friends. I think getting out and shooting with mates has helped me grow really, really quickly. Obviously, I can spend hours watching YouTube videos. The likes of Nigel Danson, Henry Turner's another really good photographer I love to follow. He's so passionate, and you just can't help but get excited when you're watching his videos.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, learning from the School of Photography, Mark's videos. There's just so much information there. Videos will only take you so far, though. You actually have to get out with the camera and start playing and start learning. And yeah, I really encourage photographers that are starting out, or people that are just starting out, to connect with local photographers. Like I say, I've got 3 good mates I've learnt from. Unfortunately for me, they're all, I've got Johnny, John, and Jono, so it gets confusing when I'm out with them as to which one I'm actually talking to. But going in and hanging out with those guys, and I've learnt so much from them, and we all kind of push each other as well. Yeah, so for me, it's connecting with other photographers and just getting out there with the camera and playing and making mistakes and learning from that.
One of the things that I am curious, because you know, as I can see based on the discussion so far, that you've been really into, you're still in the journey, discovering what your niche, in a sense, in photography. So maybe I'm preempting that journey, but how do you see yourself, from now into 5 years time? Have you thought about what the trajectory of your journey is gonna be, particularly in the different genre of photography that you might want to try or further actually develop on the things that you're already doing now? And also, of course, your YouTube channel, where do you think you wanted to bring it to?
Yeah, it's a really hard question, that one. At the moment, I still don't know. Like, I'd love to be in the position to be able to do what Brian's done and go full-time shooting photography. And I think that would be landscape. Like, I'm not terribly interested in doing weddings. That kind of stuff just seems really, really stressful. Landscape doesn't talk back to you. It doesn't argue with you. It just sits there nicely. I am also studying locally through a technical institute in New Zealand, and I'm doing a diploma in photography as well. Just doing that part-time, so that'll finish in 2026. Yeah, so 5 to 10 years, I honestly don't know where I'm going to be. I'd love to think at some point I'd be able to go full-time, but yeah, it's at this stage it's a hobby, but I'm just trying to grow it as much as I can. My reason behind doing the YouTube channel and trying that is I love watching these guys. I love watching where they get out, experience of them being out and seeing their photos as well. And so it's just trying to be able to share some of our beautiful New Zealand.
Mhm.
And yeah, some of those adventures I go on.
Yeah, New Zealand is a beautiful country, and I think when I look at, I follow a lot of YouTubers as well, like Thomas Heaton, Photo Tripper, and also the one of the first one that I followed was actually Brendan Van Zon. He does travel photography, and one thing I've noticed recently with the different photographers that I'm following on YouTube is that their footages and the one they actually put across are very much polished now. It's like very polished, and I miss the rawness of their previous videos. It was more raw, it was more in your face, it was more, they do it right there, and live blogging basically. And I think that's the one that I kind of missing, because everything seems to be quite polished now.
You should, well, like Brian was saying, you should check out Henry Turner. So basically, did you know Henry? So you know how, well, I've watched Henry Turner. He was one of the first, him and Kim Grant, the first two people I connected with in my photographic journey, and I noticed it being in New Zealand. So did you know him at that time as well when he was here? No?
No, unfortunately, I only found him 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so it sounds like, from what I understand, his photography journey actually started in New Zealand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just find him really encouraging to watch, and also feel like I could get a lot of the shots he gets as well. So it's you don't feel like you're out of your depth. Yeah, but just his enthusiasm, like, it's infectious. You just watch a video. Unfortunately, I watch them at work often, and you can't get straight out shooting. But yeah, it just wants to you just want to get out shooting when you watch his videos.
He's very inspirational, isn't he? And just
Absolutely.
he's full of energy, and Jan and Gladys, this chap, and he just speaks like you're talking about raw, but I would say he's probably the most rawest but not raw in a bad way, but raw in a good way. That he's just like somebody going hiking for the love of it. And he shows his emotions quite clearly, how he gets excited and what he sees and how things turn out, and embraces everything, really, doesn't he?
He does. He's just done a video a couple of weeks ago, and he was, I think it was somewhere in Greece, if I remember rightly, and he was basically having a meltdown and talking about how, he was out in this amazing environment and he couldn't find a shot to save his life, and it was just like, what am I doing here? I feel like a fraud. And it's like, the next video, which was next day, he kind of sorted that attitude out. But for me, watching that, it's like, I'm not the only one that goes through that. These guys that, he does that full time and he's struggling. And I find that encouraging too, because often you can go to a place and it's just like, I can't see anything. Like, why can I not see a shot? And yeah, to see people like him go through those same emotions and same feelings, I find that really encouraging in my own journey.
Yeah, I would agree with you, because a lot of them don't do that. It's almost like it's this perfect place, environment, and everything's great. So it works out, but he's just completely transparent and honest. It's as simple as that, which I love about him. Okay, doke.
Yeah.
Right. So
sorry.
When you go, Jan.
I was just gonna ask, actually, in terms of going to with your 52 weeks beach project, when you actually go out there, when you first went out, or as you subsequently went, do you have to plan it? Like, this is, I need to be there at certain time, at certain condition, etc., and also certain lights, and have you got, like, in your mind already what I want to shoot today, that this is what I wanted to do? Is it how it is?
I'm trying to not have it like that. And that was my biggest realizations, is that I like to plan, and I need to go out there and not plan. I need to go out there and let the beach reveal its shot to me. Because if I do start planning, like I say, you overthink it and you suddenly start stressing because it's like I can't think of 52 shots out there. And I'm also trying, I mean, yeah, it's beautiful West Coast. We get beautiful sunsets out there. So I'm trying not to go just at sunset. I want to go on all lights. At some point, I'll be out there in the middle of the day in really awful, harsh light because it'll push me again out of my comfort zone. Yeah, and a lot of it does kind of hinge around what we've got going on during the week. Like I say, this week I didn't get out till yesterday. And I just made the most of the big clouds, the big angry clouds. I knew I'd probably get wet, but I needed to get out there and get the shot. And yeah, so I'm trying not to overthink it.
Yeah, I think the trouble is I think that's the best attitude, because I think sometimes if you make hard and fast plans, or you must get this, that leads to you're setting yourself up for disappointment, because if it doesn't happen, but if you go with an open mind, how can anything be a disappointment? That's how I would approach it. But that's a good thing to do. But you're right. I think it'll be great. That it'll help you develop, and by having an open mind, you'll be maybe looking at things a different way and see things differently. And but it'll be interesting to watch your development by the time that I see when I'm out there.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to your project and following you on your YouTube channel and seeing what you create during your time that you go out there.
Yeah.
Right, I think it's time we should start looking at some of your images now. Yeah. Well, I remember you putting this. You did share this on the School of Photography. I still remember it, but it's absolutely amazing. So really, what's there not to like about it? It's as simple as that. I just love it. So maybe if you could give us a wee bit of the background behind it, Bryan, about the situation, because I mean it, time of day, because I love the blueness in it. So I'd be thinking it's a blue hour photograph. But if you could just give us a bit of background behind this image, please, Bryan.
Yeah. So before I do that, I'll just say one thing about landscape photography for me is it's about three things. It's about the amazing location you may be at. For example, this is Hooker Lake. It could also be about the adventure that it was to get there. And then the third thing is it's often about the company that you're with, so who you're shooting with. And I can look at any of my images and I can tell you any one of those three things. And often, an example of this photo, this was all three things. I was doing a week down in the South Island with a good friend of mine. And we'd both had COVID the week before, so we were a bit exhausted. But this is a 5-kilometer hike out to Hooker Lake. So the mountain that you can see on the left-hand vertical third, that's Mount Cook. That is our tallest mountain in New Zealand.
Okay.
It was probably shot around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was cold, and we had the lake to ourselves. Often you can go out to Hooker Lake and it can be quite busy. And the whole lake was solid ice, except for this little bit where to the left-hand side there's a river that feeds out of the lake down the mountain. So we went and set ourselves up there for our reflections. I love this photo. It's a cool photo, but for me, it's the experience. That was probably one of the most amazing nights there. We left up there, I imagine it was around 7:30. We've got some cool Milky Way shots to the right of the mountains on the right of that shot. If we had stayed there till about midnight, then the Milky Way would have been vertically behind Mount Cook, but it was just too cold. It was probably about -7 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it's just those memories. It's those feelings, and that's why I love that shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What height are you at when you're at this particular location?
I'm not actually 100% sure on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the height is. Yeah.
It
But
must
we
be quite
walked
high,
in
though,
full snow. So the whole track in was snow.
Oh, that's amazing. Have you got this printed?
No, I haven't.
You should.
I should do.
Oh. Oh, it's absolutely. I can understand why you've got memories. I think I would have a lot if I was done what you done and took a photograph like that.
Yeah.
Thanks for
No, it
sharing
was a
that,
great
Brian.
night.
It's lovely. Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. Okay, Gladys, we'll cover the next photograph, please.
The reason why I love this shot so much, it reminds me of the different stages of the moon or the sun going down. It looks like this eclipse thing. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, so this was the super blue moon. I think it was late August last year. And I had shot the super blue moon earlier in the month with my 600mm lens. And for this one, I had this shot in mind. I had tried this shot a couple of years before and had got it wrong. It didn't work. So the moon was really blown out on my previous shot. And I decided, no, I want to do this again. Where I was shooting from is a place called Te Atatu Peninsula, and there was about 30 other photographers around me, and all with their big lenses. And it was really difficult for me just to focus on my little lens with this perspective, but I knew what I wanted to do and I stuck to it. I was the last one to leave because I had to wait for the moon to go out of the shot, and actually the tide was coming in, so I managed to time it just right. I didn't have to move. But yeah, it's just showing the different, the moon rising up through the sky.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
So in order for people to understand, I mean, can you maybe explain a wee bit how you actually have to post-process this to get it to look like this?
Yeah, so I'm not too strategic on my timing. I was just taking photos. So I ended up with probably 100, 150 photos. And basically I'd bring it all into Photoshop as layers and then work out where the moon was in each shot and get rid of the layers I didn't need.
Okay.
And then just blend them together.
Yeah. No, it's lovely. I think, but because we all know blue and yellow are complementary colours, so I think it just helps the moon pop, But okay, it's lovely. And is this Auckland that we're looking at in the landscapes sticking out? Okay.
Yeah, so this is Auckland City. The building on that third is Sky Tower, so that's our tallest building in New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, eh? Yeah, it's amazing what we can do, with modern technology and software. But
absolutely.
It's got a nice effect. Okay, Jan, do you want to say about this photograph?
Yes, I have. I choose another one, but this I wanted to say something is that with what kind of with the exposure on this one, did you have to actually shoot a bulb, or did you want to shoot did you shoot it just so many seconds, so many frames in every second?
Yeah, so no, with the moon, you generally have to shoot very quickly because it's so bright, it will blow out. And that was where my previous shot I got wrong. I had been exposing for the city to make sure the city lights were correct each time, which meant the moon was blown out. But I had to also understand the editing process and the blending process and how that worked. So understanding that better with the second time, I was just exposing purely for the moon.
And
so most of the shots would have been quick.
Yeah, and now did you have an inbuilt intervalometer to take these images, or was it like inside your camera, or did you an external one?
No, I've just got a remote shutter, and like I say, I was just literally just shooting the shutter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just basically manually shooting the shutter instead of putting it into bulb, where it basically just takes the shot every 2 seconds or 5 seconds or a second, depending on how you set it.
No, just manually shooting.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's I like when you did say that, expose for the moon, because at certain point it becomes the brightest thing in the sky. So rather than actually exposing for the city, and that's a really good tip, because sometimes instinctively would like to expose the the background or the city, because that's the lightest, and then forget that actually as it progresses, the moon becomes actually the lightest or brightest thing. And yeah, that's a really good tip for those who are actually going to start on moon shooting or astrophotography. Thank you so much for that, Bryan.
And you can actually see the transition of the moon, the colours as it gets higher in this photograph as well, to demonstrate that. Okay, that's great. Well, thanks for that.
This is the one that I picked. I actually really like the way you compose the shots. I find that if it was without the moon in there, the shot would have looked quite imbalanced. But with the moon actually in there, it just brings it all together. So did you know, when you actually were shooting this, what thought process did you have? Were you really intending to take this shot, or was it something that you thought as you were walking around or looking at a shot and you found this?
Yeah, so this was the first supermoon in August last year. And again, a little bit behind it, I met up with a new photographer, and we'd started out at West Auckland, so closer to where the previous shot was. But it was completely cloudy, and so we decided to head into the city. And this building is the Sky Tower, so this is again our tallest building in New Zealand. And we were at a park just over from the Sky Tower, and we were there, and it was still cloudy, and then the moon popped out on the right hand side of the Sky Tower, and we got a couple of shots, and then it started raining really heavily, and then it cleared up again, and we got these shots, and we were literally running across the park, a very muddy park, with all our gear, chasing the moon. Like, it is literally moon chasing. And yeah, just learning how you don't have to move too far, and you can get these the moon moves perspective really quickly. So for my composition, when I was taking the shot, I had planned on that composition, not planned, but as I was taking the shot, I'd seen that I really like when things come out of the corners of photos. And so that's why I've got the rings of the Sky Tower coming out of that bottom left-hand corner. But there's no time to kind of think through the process. Like, we were literally running across a park chasing, and it was quite cool.
It came actually together very well, because you've got with the moon, the circles in it, and it's actually reflected on the bottom as well of the building, where you've got the swirl of the circle in it, and also on the top as well. So that's a really good, it's a really good composition. I like that.
Thank you. I do actually have this one printed.
You've got this one printed, have you?
Yeah, this is above my computer at work.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Right.
And I gather, well, looking at it, I mean, you've used a long lens. What focal length can you remember?
It would have been around 600mm.
Yeah, because that does help. Because that does help make them look bigger in the frame as well when you're at distance, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
Science fiction feel about it.
Yeah.
Imagine
I've had that comment a lot.
Amazing. It is lovely. I can imagine that in a book cover or something.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting. Like, looking at the print, it almost looks like it's velvet.
It does.
Like, you feel like you're gonna touch the print, and it would be velvet.
Yes. Totally agree. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah. So I just love the way. Well, honestly, this is just, I mean, obviously, we'll find out from you, but I mean, obviously, the way you've got the Milky Way with the galactic core and coming down to that tree, I take it's in a lake or something, but it's almost like, to me, it's almost like it's bringing that tree to life. It's bringing, it's providing it's like an energy source to the tree, and it's as if it's dancing on water. That's how I see this photograph. But if you can maybe just talk us a wee bit through it, Bryan, please.
Yeah, so this is taken in Waitakere. So this was during my South Island trip a couple of years ago. And this is a tree that's called that Waitakere tree. I think it's a very highly Instagrammed tree, normally from a different perspective with the mountains in behind. So the perspective we're looking at is Waitakere, the town of Waitakere is just in behind. This is actually a 5-shot vertical panorama.
Wow.
So I vertically shot all those photos. So the lens is landscape, but I've moved the camera up vertically to catch that. Yeah, and yeah, I remember getting that shot, and once I stitched it all together in the software, it was just a very exciting moment as well. I love that shot. I think it's incredible. One of those shots you kind of look at and go, "Oh my goodness, I actually took that. I can't believe that." Yeah, it was a really cool moment.
I love the fact that you said that you've done it panorama because you've given it so much depth. You know, with the way the stars are like reaching out in the far distance.
Yeah.
And that's a full frame camera as well then, with the 5 images, is it?
No, so I shoot on a crop sensor.
Right, okay.
So I think I was using I think it was probably a 25mm f1.4 lens, if I remember rightly. Yeah.
Okay. And the bright light off to the right, is that just come from the city then, is it? Or what's on the
No,
coastline?
no, so the moon was just starting to rise. So we didn't have long. I think this was about 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And yeah, we didn't have very much time to kind of get the shot.
Aye. No, it's lovely because I hope that brings out I think that's helping to bring out the highlights in the water, or that low water there. You know, I think it's, you know, and then the wee clouds coming through in that bottom third, you know, as well. It just adds a bit different, you know, with because it's clear above, you know, and you can see the density of the stars in the core, you know. So I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
No, not at all. It's wonderful. And you're getting you can actually see some of the stars reflected in the water as well.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. It must have been amazing just standing there and actually seeing it while you were taking the photo.
Yeah, it is. And that's one of the things I love about astrophotography as well. It's just you're often in places that are so dark. Now, Wanaka is obviously not dark. I was in darker places during the week. But just to see the whole galaxy there, it's incredible.
That is amazing. And most times there's not anybody else there unless you're there with fellow photographers. But you know, it's everyone's sleeping and you're seeing it all above you, and you think, "Oh, this is amazing." You're the only one seeing it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, doc, that's grand. Thank you.
Can you talk us through the shot as well, Bryan? Because what I like about it is that it's you know, for me, what makes the shot is the birds that's actually right on top of it, and it just brings it all together. It isn't, I wouldn't say, like, you know, the others would say that, oh, it's imperfect because there's no reflection, but I like the movement of the water. It just makes it kind of dynamic, and of course with the birds as well. So could you talk us through the process why you took the photo and what, you know, attracted you to the scene?
Yeah. So again, this comes back to my 3 things about landscape photography. So this is Mount Taranaki, and that's the middle of, or on the west coast, but the middle of New Zealand, of the North Island of New Zealand. I had driven down. It's about a 6-hour drive for me, and met up with a guy, a photographer down there, who had never met before, and we went and hung out, and it was a really cool experience. This is shot at Lake Mangamahoi. The night before, it had been quite a miserable night, and we got up at 5 in the morning, drove to the lake, and it was just the most incredible conditions. He's never seen the lake that smooth. So this is a little bit later in the morning, once the birds had started rippling up all the water. We'd been shooting down by the water's edge on tripods, and I just grabbed my camera, we kind of moved up a little bit, and these birds flew through the frame. So I've got about 6 shots as they kind of came up from the right-hand side of that shot. I like having birds in my shot, and I'm noticing more that if a bird's flying around, I'll try and time it to be in the shot. I think it just adds a bit of real life to the shot. And yeah, this photo here is probably one of my favorite shots from 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think just to echo what Jam said, what I like about the fact that it's not still and calm flat, because then your eye be jumping between the reflection and the real thing. But as that's, to me, that's that's diffused and softened in, so that your eye, that's taking you in. For me, it's taking you into the photo and then up through the trees and up to the top and then the birds. So it's got a nice flow of energy. For me, that photograph, it's absolutely amazing when you see and again, it works because there's no clouds in the sky. People always talk clouds, you need clouds, and clear skies are the worst thing, but this actually works because it's got a beautiful, a very subtle hue of the blues, but not too strong. And it's like it gives a nice, clean, fresh look. To me, it looks like it's got, and especially when you're moving down to the whites of the tip of the mountain, and that helps make the birds pop. I think that all complements. It all comes together to make the birds just that we being black, but oh yeah, it's just amazing. It's so how long did you have to wait for the birds to come into frame?
Well, it was just it's completely luck of being in that position. Like if I had still been down at the water's edge like I was 2 minutes before, I wouldn't have got that shot because the camera would have been on the tripod. And it really was just lucky timing. And just seeing them come and trying to scramble to get your focus right and shoot the shots off. Yeah.
So just interested on this, when you talk about focus, what was your focus point in this image?
Oh, I don't remember, Brian.
No.
It would have been, I'm sure, the mountain. I would have shot it probably, I'm guessing, around an F11.
Yeah. Oh well, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's all right, because I know sometimes you might just focus on the birds that they're moving, but but that's the reason I was asking. Maybe people are watching, just explains depth of field, because after an image like this, the depth of field's pretty much 2 meters in front of you to infinity, so it really doesn't matter what. It's more the shutter speed. It's the important thing because the birds are obviously moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a wonderful image. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. I think what attracted me to this shot is that it is a simple shot. It's not complicated, but it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the gist of it. Sometimes I always say that sometimes as photographers I think sometimes we look at the complicated, that we actually miss the simple stuff that sometimes just is actually there and makes the shots rather than. So I always say that, walk around, have a look around. It doesn't need to be complicated. Simple things sometimes gives you the shot that you didn't expect you'll have. And I think this is one of them.
Yeah. I think the lesson that we say to most people is less is more.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Gladys.
And it's trying to remember that when you're taking the shot too, is to not overcomplicate the photo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Gladys, what's the next one, please?
I chose this one because I love the motion of the sea.
Yeah.
It's quite spiritual. There's a painter that my sister has in her house, and she uses that kind of painting to create that kind of motion. And she's done it on purpose to capture the spiritualism of her picture. But you've actually given it that kind of spiritual ghosty effect, and I love it.
Yeah. So this photo is taken out at Bethells Beach. This was my, I think, 3rd shot for my Epic Shores project this year. And this was a shot that I had in mind at some point. I really wanted to kind of capture the waves and just the mist from the waves with the light in behind as well. So this was kind of going into golden hour. And just happened to be walking out the beach. I think I went out with my wife that night, and the wind was the correct direction, and we're getting a lot of mist. So I was quite stoked to be able to kind of tick that one off. this is the southern end of the beach, but I have used my big zoom lens. It's quite a long way to walk down there to capture that shot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love there was lots of them, and this is what people don't realize too, is I didn't capture that one shot. You know, I captured probably 30 or 40 just trying to get the waves right, and it's picking through and getting the one that you feel is right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I love the waves and everything else, but when I look at the rock at the front, I'm seeing some sort of animal, like a little horn sticking out.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, you know, do you know what, has this got any history, this rock with a big U shape in the middle, you know, missing, or is that something that you've got any knowledge of?
I'm not sure. I don't know any history of it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting to me, it kind of looks a little bit like a lion. And I say that's interesting because Piha Beach has lion rock. When you're out here, Brian, we'll go out to Piha and we'll see that.
Yeah.
So it's quite funny that Bethells has kind of got a very similar shaped rock.
Mm-hmm. No, it's amazing, all the textures in the rock, and that's what I like works with the photograph, because again, you've got that contrast with the foreground and the rock in the midground, and then you've got the slightly lighter tones at the back, you know. So again, so it makes, again, to me, it really gives that the rock and the whites in the foreground really are the complement, but they're in strong contrast to one another. But then the way that the waves are with the wind blowing, that, you know, that stuff off the top of the waves is surf to give that sort of ghostily, misty, airy look. You know, it's just fabulous. It's
ethereal look. It's very.
I was just wondering, Brian. You know, I can see what you see about the lion. You know, in front with the paw.
Yeah.
The paw sitting down. Have you thought about actually doing a much closer crop shot with just the, you know, the face of the lion and the waves, and the rest you get like more space in front of the lion?
No, I haven't, but that is a good idea.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because the way I see it, this is a great shot, you know, but to get the lion, you know, give the lion a bit of, because it's actually facing to my right this time, so it's like it's gazing to something, but it kind of ends abruptly. So I thought, I don't know, maybe, you know, it's just me thinking that I'd like to see the lion, just maybe emphasize on the lion shape, and then give that space more onto, you know, more negative space, maybe with big waves for next time.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I've got 48 more weeks to go, so there'd be
I just
definitely opportunity to get that shot.
Yeah, I just thought, like, you know, I'd like to see that lion actually brought more
more in the frame,
into more of the focal point, and it gazing. It tells you a story that he's either, it's more or less like longing for something across that sea, and I just thought that there would be a good story, but you can't shut me down if you
no.
Well, actually,
appreciate the
Brian,
insight.
there's one you could do for this month's assignment. You know, just treat it as a portrait and just have enough space for it to be looking out. But right, so anyway, well, Brian, thanks for sharing those images. They're all absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed every single one of them, and thanks for giving us a bit of explanation behind them, because, you know, it helps our people watching us maybe get a bit knowledge of what there is. And, you know, because people see things like the moon, you know, so how did you do that, you know? So thanks for explaining things like that. I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot. And you know, it seems great to. It just seems weird still. We've got somebody on from New Zealand, you know. This is, you know, different for us. They've all been fairly local people, but, you know, this is and it's all down to connections. If it wasn't for the School of Photography, we would never be here, Brian, would we? You know, never get to know each other and get on the channel. So thanks for coming on this evening. So anything you want No, not at all. Anything else you want to say back just now?
No, I don't think so. Like I say, I'm really looking forward to meeting you later in the year, and getting out shooting with you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're going to have an amazing time here as well.
Oh, I think so. I've told, because my but not for this, but just quickly, my parents were out there a number of years ago when they both retired, and they came back and they said to me, "You need to get out to New Zealand because you'll love it." So I'm now exercising that decision to get out there later on this year. So, okay, thanks for that, Brian. But Gladys, do you want to say anything else in the meantime?
No. I just think thank you very much for coming on, and thank you for sharing your photography. It's been absolutely amazing. So I've got nothing else to say than it's really good. Yeah. So
Thank you very much.
Okay, Jan, do you want to say anything finally?
Yeah, I actually have one last, sorry about me moving. I actually have one last question, not question, but actually just wanted to an advice really for those who are starting and who's actually young people who's thinking about going into photography, whether as a hobby or as a curiosity. Is there anything that you'd want to, to impart with your experience starting photography? Is there anything that you'd want to advise, or any nuggets that might be useful for those that are actually starting?
Yeah, and just a disclaimer, we're not being sponsored by the School of Photography, but join the School of Photography. I've shared it wide in New Zealand. I've got people that are probably pretty close to signing up. For the limited cost for a year to join up School of Photography, I think it's an amazing resource. There's just hundreds of hours of videos of learning on there, and like I've said, Mark is an amazing communicator, and I think that's really important, especially when you're watching video after video, is to having someone that you can kind of connect with and that knows how to communicate.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, again, for the community side of things, but also, like I've said earlier, it's connecting with other photographers, and it's learning off them. It's not always about learning off them too. It's connecting with people with a similar passion. You start to understand the language that photographers have, but you also end up talking the same language, and you can push yourselves, you can push each other, you can get advice. One of my good mates, and I've sent him a photo once, and he just came back to me and said, "Dude, that's not your best work." And it's like having those people that aren't just gonna go, yeah, you're amazing, but actually go, no, I think you could do better, or if you did this, or if you did that, or yeah, that's really important, is to having that kind of constructive criticism as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for that.
No, I would definitely echo that with the School of Photography, because it's as you mentioned, they've got hours of videos, and the thing is, it was one of these things that, well, I know now, but when I first joined, I never quite put it together, because when we had Mark on, he explained that he was into teaching, and I think it's very clever, the School of Photography, because it's, he's a teacher, and we're all the pupils in the school, so it's, but no, that's a good piece of advice, because that's what, like you say, Brian, I've had many people asking me, and I know people have actually joined because I've advised them it's a good place to go, because the way it's all laid out, it's like everything's in one place, it's all well organized, it's structured, and just echoing what you'd say, I think if you listen to some people talk about photography, it can be extremely confusing if you're a new person with the technology and how it's disjointed, and but at least with what we're saying, that we both see from Mark and the way that he talks and it's laid out, it's like speaking and playing English in language that you can actually relate to, isn't it? And we can understand quite simply, and it doesn't go over your head, and so, but thanks for that, because I can certainly echo that as well. But no, Brian, I'd just like to say it's been amazing. Thank you very much for giving us your time, and because we're on opposite side, it's your morning now and it's our evening, so it's been absolutely brilliant. But thanks for giving us your time, and personally, I can't wait to physically connect with you face to face towards the end of the year. But thank you very much, Bryan. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope everybody's enjoyed this. Okay.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
And we'll see you
Everyone,
soon.
have a lovely day.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.